Halo Bu Dami, selamat siang.
Selamat siang juga. Selamat siang Elsa dan Julie.
Selamat siang.
Selamat siang.
Sudah ada siapa aja nih? Ada Pak Eka.
Cuman kita berenam di sini, tapi di ruang yang lain nampaknya sudah siap menunggu nih para peserta.
Oh, perlu dimasukin ya?
Iya, itu si Widya itu yang harus.
Wit, udah bisa dimasukin aja, Wit, udah jam 3.
Ya Bu, mereka udah ada dari tadi di attendees, ini kan panelis.
Oke. Jadi mereka bisa dengerin kita ngomong?
Ya, sudah bisa Bu.
Oh, hello partisipan. Nice to see you. Karena nggak bisa lihat.
Oh iya ya.
Iya, karena kita hanya panelis, tapi partisipan ada 22. But we cannot see them, tetapi nama-namanya nggak muncul ya?
Ya Bu, apa mau diundang aja ke grup panelis semua?
Iya, kayaknya supaya kita bisa lihat.
Diundang aja lah, biar kita kena. Kan bisa
ya,
kan?
Bisa Bu.
Iya, diundang aja.
Biar bisa lihat juga.
Ini saya kemarin pakai sisa-sisa ini essay kontes Pak. Jadi model webinar.
Oh,
kan sampai ratusan ya waktu itu ya.
Iya, kalau ini kan kita kecil aja.
Iya, ini kita kecil. So sorry, we're talking about the participant. That this webinar is a webinar that is being used for a real seminar with hundreds of people, and so now we're inviting all the participants to just join so we can talk, because otherwise we cannot see them. Oke, jadi bisa kenalan ini. Ada Pak Suratman Umar. Selamat siang, Bapak.
Selamat siang, Bu Dame. Kami dari Lampung.
Oh, dari Lampung. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih sekali atas undangannya. Saya sering diundang juga, banyak menambah pengetahuan kami, Bu.
Oke. Terima kasih Pak Suratman. Kemudian ada Ibu Yosi, Ibu Endang, Mbak Zabika, Hamidun Daim. Wah, nama-nama baru. Oh, ada Pak Andin.
Sore, Bu Damayanti.
Sore, Bu Endang. Apa kabar, Bu?
Baik.
Makasih ya udah hadir.
Foto background-nya Bu Endang kali.
Iya, nih background-nya membuat iri. Di mana tuh, Bu?
Ini di Tegalmas, Bu, di Lampung. Kami dan Pak Suratman berasal dari Lampung.
Cantik sekali. Wow.
Ya, jernih lagi airnya, Bu.
Jernih ya.
Jadi
ya, itu Bu Dame perlu sekali
datang ya.
ke
boleh.
Ya.
Boleh.
Ya, Bu.
Insya Allah akan
Dan
hadir.
lain juga. Apalagi sekarang sudah bebas, tidak perlu PCR sama antigen, Bu.
Iya.
Tetap jaga prokes.
Iya,
tetap prokesnya harus ya.
Oke. Mungkin bisa dimulai, Pak. Nggak apa-apa, sudah 28.
Iya, saya kira kita mulai. Saya serahkan dulu untuk penyambutan dan pembukaan. Bu Dami, silakan. Setelah itu saya akan memoderatorinya.
Oke, kalau gitu kita mulai. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat siang menjelang sore. Selamat datang kepada semua peserta partisipan dari meeting kita hari ini, atau bukan meeting ya, webinar seminar ya. Jadi bagi yang belum kenal CTSS, memperkenalkan sedikit lagi tentang CTSS. Adalah sebuah pusat kajian yang banyak mencoba mengulik tentang isu-isu sains keberlanjutan atau sustainability science dengan pendekatan transdisiplin. Ya, jadi kami di sini mempunyai beberapa platform. Nah, salah satu platform yang kita kembangkan sebagai ajang untuk diskusi ada yang disebut Graduate Sustainability Seminar. Ya, jadi apa ya? Graduate student. Jadi biasanya ini untuk mahasiswa pasca, tapi hari ini kita kedatangan tamu. Ada yang sudah lulus dari S1, ada yang masih kuliah ya. Nah, jadi izinkan saya untuk switch ke dalam bahasa Inggris ya untuk memperkenalkan kawan-kawan kami. Okay, so Elsa and Julie. Sorry, I started in Bahasa Indonesia just to say hello to everyone, but I said now I'm switching to English. And basically, I would like to say thank you to all of the participants who are joining our seminar today. We are very lucky that CTSS, as a center that focuses on sustainability science, we have two distinguished guests coming all the way from Belanda, yeah, from the Netherlands. And so we are very lucky to have Elsa and also Julie for the next 2 months, 2.5 months. And today we will be listening to their presentation. And we hope that the sharing of experiences from Elsa and also Julie will be of beneficial to all the participants today. And so I would like to welcome also Julie and Elsa to this platform, which we call the GSS or GS3, Graduate Student Sustainability Seminar, GS3 ya. Bagi Bapak Ibu, sekali lagi terima kasih ya. Ini ajang ini memang ajang untuk diskusi santai sebetulnya ya. Diskusi santai dan sebetulnya karena kedatangan tamu kita, jadi CTSS memang memberikan kesempatan untuk magang ya bagi siapapun ya, baik bagi mahasiswa maupun bagi terbuka juga bagi yang non mahasiswa. Jadi misalnya ada yang tertarik untuk ikut magang ke CTSS, please come, tinggal kirim surat, nanti bisa kita aturlah jadwalnya. Nah, itu saja mungkin dari saya. Very excited to hear what Elsa and Julie is going to share with us today, and thank you to Pak Rilus for moderating the session for today. And once again, thank you to everyone and looking forward to today's discussion. Thank you. Pak Rilus, saya kembalikan ke Pak Rilus.
Okay, so thank you, Prof. Dami, for the introduction. I think everybody knows who Ibu Dami is. Bu Dami is the head of this CTSS. I'll first talk in bahasa. Jadi Bapak Ibu sekalian, kita akan mendengarkan dua presentasi nanti. Yang pertama nanti dari Mbak Elsa, lalu kemudian yang kedua dari Mbak Julie. Seperti biasa, Bapak Ibu, sementara mereka presentasi, kita mute kita. Dan kemudian setelah itu nanti kita akan berikan kesempatan untuk berdiskusi. Sementara itu apabila Bapak Ibu ada yang mau bertanya juga boleh dituliskan di ruang chat sehingga kita bisa juga sambil membacanya nanti. Saya rasa itu pengantar untuk kita. So we will start our discussion. The first presenter will be Elsa with the topic Plastic in Indonesia, Challenge of becoming plastic free in 2040. I give you time about 20 to 30 minutes presentation. You can have less than that, but more or less. And after that, Julie. So the first, please, Elsa, have your presentation.
I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, please.
Can you see?
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. So first of all, hi everyone, and thank you for joining today. So my part of the presentation will concern marine plastic pollution with the focus on Indonesia and its challenge to becoming a plastic-free country by 2040. So a bit about myself. So I'm Elsa. I'm French, 21 years old, and I'm finishing my third year of Bachelor of International Business in the Netherlands with a specialization on emerging markets. So I'm currently doing an internship in between CTSS and IBCSD, so the Indonesian Business Council for Sustainable Development. And my internship focuses on the matter of marine plastic and to see how is it possible to implement circular economy within the private sector, but also how to increase awareness to the population. So before starting for the whole presentation, I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, how much plastic is actually produced every second? You don't have to talk, you can just write on the chats.
Many.
Just take a guess.
Wow.
1 ton,
10 tons.
So yeah, we can have a look, because the actual number is 11.38 ton per second, which is equal to 359 million of ton per plastic. And as it is a bit hard to understand this number, I thought it would be nice to compare it to monument that we all know about. So the first one is actually that every hours, if we only talk about plastic bottles, 54.9 million of bottles are produced, which is way higher. If we add all of them, it's way higher than the crease in Rio de Janeiro, which measure 38 meters. And if we think about every month, it's actually 4 billion of bottles. And compared to the Eiffel Tower, that is 324 meters tall, it completely recovered and even more. And if we think about a decade, this is how it looks like. So it's compared to New York, and yeah, it's a huge amount of plastic bottles. So approximately 55% of this plastic bottles are discards, 25 are incinerated, and only 20% are actually recycled. So the majority of today's plastic ends up in the environment and how water and everything, everywhere around us. So what is the use and why do actually people use plastic? The main reason why it's actually to say plastic is cheap, because plastic corresponds to the actual, the most affordable and accessible component, and it's produced and used everywhere around us and by a billion of people. And just to have the numbers still in mind, it's 359 million tons of plastic produced every year, and this pollutes our rivers, sea, and destroys completely the fauna and flora. And we count today 30 million tons of plastic in the ocean. Not to blame anyone, but China is the biggest producer on the world and manufacture more than a third of the world plastic. So yeah, and if we only talk about Indonesia, well, you're better than me to know that Indonesia has a lot of islands, so it's surrounded by a lot of water, and it's actually the second largest contributor to plastic debris in the ocean. And Indonesia produced 3.2 million of tons of plastic that are not recyclable, and half of this amount actually end up in the ocean, which corresponds to 16% of the global marine pollution. So what are the consequences? Well, it has consequences at different levels. So first of all, the environmental level, it has a negative impact because it actually damaged like the carbon sink ecosystems such as mangroves, sea bass beds, but also like coral reefs. And there are like more than 800 species that are affected and that are disappearing because of plastic and the consequences that it has. It's really killing a lot of animals and species like every year, more than millions of species. At an economic point of view, well, marine plastic pollution has a direct negative impact because 3.7 million of Indonesians actually depend on this wild fishing for their livelihood, and also like more than 100 million are dependent for the protein that it contains. So it's really like a big deal for Indonesia. Also, the tourist sector is impacted because, for example, if we talk only about Bali, 1 out of 5 persons in Bali are working in the tourism sector. And the fact that the beaches now are covered by plastic, well, tourists don't want to go there anymore, so there is no work anymore. So that's like a major problem, especially, for example, for like touristic islands such as Bali. And concerning our health, well, more than half of the fishes that are collected on the coast of Indonesia are actually infected by microplastics. So all of us, we're eating actually contaminated fish, and it's impacting our own health. So now we can see this, and this is what is happening and will keep happening if we don't do anything. So in between like few months, there are like 2 big whales that died, one in Thailand and one in Indonesia. The one in Indonesia was found with 6 kilograms of plastic inside his body. So we actually don't know if it's the source of the death, but most probably. And in Thailand, like a pilot whale died because it swallowed 80 plastic bags that were found in the ocean. Yeah, so one of the main reasons why it's because of the bad recycling management, but also because of the overuse of plastic. So on this graph, I mean, like big figure, we can see where Indonesian plastic ends up. And we can see that there is only 10% of the plastic that is actually recycled properly. And there is 61% that are not even collected. And within those 61%, 9% are actually leaking into the water. So it's pretty obvious that something needs to change because we cannot keep going like that. But what can be done? Like, who are the actors? So the first actor and the most important is actually the government. So the good thing is that the government of Indonesia is well aware of the problem and really tries to find to get it at local and national level. So there's like 2 main goals. So the first one is reducing marine plastic leakage by 70% by 2025. So it's actually pretty soon. And this goal was set in 2018. And the second one is to become a plastic-free country by 2040. So for that, locally and nationally, like there are some rules implemented. And for example, locally government are implementing rule to, for example, ban the single-use plastic in shopping mall and street markets. So it happened in Bali, was like they were the first one in 2018, but then like a lot of different cities actually followed that. So Bogor, Central Jakarta, and like a bit everywhere in Indonesia. And at the national level, its goal is actually to provide guidance for the different actors through the Indonesian National Plastic Action Partnership. So they made like a summary of like what can be done by different actors. And the government said that actually all actors should work together to reduce the amount of plastic that is produced, processed, and consumed, and to change the way that plastic is managed and disposed. So here are the actions that can be taken at different levels. So for example, for the private sector, they should actually implement way more the circular economy, because then you don't throw away when you're done, you reuse it. So it's way more sustainable. Concerning the informal sector, they should actually be recognized because it corresponds to a really big part of the collection process of plastic. The NGO and the government should actually really increase the awareness of the population and present to them the benefits of recycling and what they should actually do it. And yeah, Indonesia should also stop importing waste from the outside, because every year there is like more than 300,000 tons of waste that is brought to the country. And it's mainly like from the UK, Netherlands, US, and Germany, and it's not helping. So we should mainly like focus on managing the local waste instead of like accepting from the outsiders. And lastly, like it's really important to increase the investment in research and development, because it's through innovation and technology that actually will be able to recycle more and more efficient and in a better way. So talking about innovation, now we're going to have a small case study on Get Plastic, which is an NGO based in Bali. And they're not focusing on reducing the amount of plastic that is produced and manufactured, but they're trying to see what can be the second life of plastic. So this is the machine that they created. So the goal is actually to transform the plastic to fuel for the cars. With this machine, I had the chance to actually interview them, and they told me that they, with only 3 kilograms of plastic, it's actually possible to get 1 liter of fuel. So it's pretty interesting. And they are starting to implement it, and they already implemented it in 23 cities and villages. And just for you to understand a bit the value of how much it costs 90 million rupiah for one machine of 10 kilograms. So how does it work? Basically, the first thing is actually to collect the plastic from around. So they go to the neighbor, supermarket, restaurant, people also are directly dropping the plastic at their place. And then they separate it into 7 different groups of plastic, because it's then better for them and easier to actually melt it properly and in a more efficient way, because not every plastic needs the same amount of time to melt. And what they were telling me is that actually their goal is not to create one huge machine at their place and everyone coming to drop everything there, but it's actually to empower the population and make them more responsible. And that's why they want to share the knowledge about the machine and implement it in other cities other than Indonesia. And for that, for example, the next big project that they have, it's actually going from Bogor to Bali by car, just with their machine, and implementing in 5 different cities. And they actually told me that they will bring one machine and put it in the truck of the car, so they can be their own petrol station. And this whole thing is a part of the road to G20. So now, what can we do as an individual, action of our daily life? Well, of course, I'm not going to present everything because it's a lot, but those are 4 small things that can be actually useful. So first of all, when we all go to water or watering, I think it's pretty easy to bring our own lunchbox, and it would then we won't have to use single bags, because over there you wrap every type of food in one plastic bag, and it's not necessary. So that could be an action. The second one is actually just to separate your trash at home. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's quite easy and it's actually helping a lot. And also like to stop using plastic straw, because of course it's nice, it's better, it's nicer, like it feels better, but it doesn't change anything and any taste to the thing that you're drinking. But so it doesn't really affect your life, only like your small pleasure, but it actually can save hundreds of thousands of species in the sea. And finally, like instead of going to the supermarket where like everything is wrapped in plastic and overwrapped and wrapped again and again and again, just like go to the market, bring your own bags, and it's going to be cheaper for you and it's going to be way better for the environment. So, and if we can see actually the benefits, because it has some benefits. So first of all, economically talking, it can really increase the, like we can earn a lot of money, like between 600 and 640 trillion Indonesian rupiah in 2030. So it's like quite soon. It will preserve our environment, preserve our health, because we won't eat polluted fishes anymore. It can also like create 4.4 million of new jobs, like through the whole like circular economy project. And obviously it will preserve our future generation, and that's what we all want. So thank you for listening, and if you have any question, just pop it up, or you can write the question at the email. I will like just answer this later.
Oh, so thank you very much, Elsa. Very interesting, yeah. You start with the fact how much plastic is produced all over the world, and then down to Indonesia, and then the consequences of that plastic, and then how to solve it from so many actors, start from the government up to individual level, and then you present the case in Bali, and then how can we do it together, and what benefits can be gain if we reduce the plastic. Very interesting. Before we have discussion, we just continue presentation first. So I would like to invite Julie, the second speaker. The second speaker, Julie, will be talking about the art of being a sustainability scientist. I think these two topics is strongly related, because when we talk about the plastic, Elsa also talk about the sustainability even for our next generation, right? In terms of ecology and economy and so on. So very closely together. So we now want to listen a presentation from Julie. It's time for you, please.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, clear.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen like this. Okay. Now you can't see the full presentation, can you?
I mean, we can see with the next slide on the right.
Okay. Well, yeah.
On the top, you have your slideshow.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm gonna do it like this. You can still see the slide, right? So, yeah, I want to talk about sustainability today, more in the large sense. I just want to share my passion for this type of, well, we can call it a science or a way of thinking. And I just want to share my ideas on how to think about sustainability and just share food for thought, so we can have a discussion later. But first, just let me present who I am, because I guess it's important to know who is talking. Yeah, so I'm born from French parents. I lived in the Netherlands and in Switzerland most of my life. So yeah, I don't really have a strong sense of nationality. And I studied global sustainability science in the Netherlands. In this bachelor, I actually had the chance to do some natural sciences. So I studied water, soil, climate physics, And I also had the chance to study more social sciences. So I studied governance, societal transformations, philosophy, economics. So a lot of different disciplines. And actually, I started to have a focus with my thesis on the agro-food system because I started to want to analyze how we can transform the agriculture and food system by seeing how we can bring different food movements around the world together to influence global politics. And this focus on my thesis actually led me to come here as an intern at CTSS to assist for writing the policy recommendations on food security and sustainable agriculture to the G20. And yeah, finally, just to say more personally, I really love people. I really love diversity. I love traveling. I love meeting people. And I really like art and music. And actually, I try to integrate art in sustainability. So I also went to an art school to see how we can affect social change with art. So what do I want to talk about today is the art of being a sustainable scientist. And I just want to present to you different skills or different ways of thinking that are useful for analyzing sustainable challenges and are useful to design good sustainable solutions. And this is useful for everyone because just everyone can be involved in sustainability in their own way. In any sector you are working in. So let's go. Okay, first I start with something a bit boring, but important, just the definition that sustainable development, what is it? It's actually defined by the UN as the development that is able to meet our needs in the present, so our needs in food and water and all of that, without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So it's to make sure we can live well now and that our children can also continue living on the same planet. But actually, sustainability is way more than that. So this is the first thing I want to present that is important to think about when you look at a situation or you want to analyze any problem and you want to design a sustainable solution. It means that you always need to find the balance between the environment, so between protecting nature, between equity, so the social pillar, make sure that people are protected, and the economy, so make sure there is profit or that jobs are created. So to make this a bit more concrete, I can give an example with what I'm working on right now. So the food system. So how can we define, for instance, a sustainable food system? A sustainable food system would mean that the food system is not only capable to meet people's demand in food, giving them nutritious food, ending hunger. So that's the social pillar. It's also about that the food system will actually create jobs, that people can make good income, good profit out of it, that farmers are paid well, that the income is distributed equally over different economic actors, and that it's not only going to the hands of just a powerful, big multinational corporation. And it's also a food system that can produce food without destroying the environment. So that it's we utilize farming practices that don't participate to deforestation or to climate change, and that we are able to produce food in a nature positive way. So this way of thinking, you can apply it to everything. So not only to the food system, to fashion, to transport, to energy, to tourism. You always need to focus on the three pillars at the same time. You can't, sustainability is not only about protecting the environment. It's not only about protecting nature. You need to think about people and their income as well. So that's my main message. So actually, I'm wondering, what are you, like, who we have in this audience now? What are you studying? And if you work, like, what is your sector? If you can just specify your study or your sector, maybe you can answer in the chat. Business. Okay, not a lot of answers yet. Community, entrepreneurship, insects. Nice. Yeah, I think it's important to keep in mind everyone's study and sector: climatology, product design, marine technology. Nice. Rural sociology. Because it's just, so I'm going to continue because we're going to run out of time otherwise. But thank you for your answers. So it's just really important, this, because everyone actually is linked to sustainability. So no matter what you're studying or in which sector you're working in, you can contribute to sustainability, because we need all disciplines. So we really need to think together and we need the input of everyone. So we need the input of economists, of politicians, of scientists, of philosophers sometimes, or of artists, to frame the solution, because sustainability science is a multidisciplinary science, interdisciplinary science, and a transdisciplinary science. So just in general, it really means everyone in society can participate, and we need their knowledge. So this is because it requires system thinking. And as you can see on this drawing I made, sorry, my handwriting is horrible, you probably can't read this, but this is, for instance, about how can we tackle climate change problems and how can we reduce greenhouse gas emissions. When we look at a sustainable challenge like this, you actually realize that it affects everything in society. So you need to look at the industry, every type of industry, the transport, agriculture, all of these require energy. These are so all sectors that contribute to climate change. And then if you want to see how can we change this system and make sure we reduce greenhouse gas emissions, you can see that you can act on an individual level by consuming less, by buying more local or more sustainable, or by reusing, but that we also need to change on a collective level. So collectively, we need change in our political system, in our institutions, in our economic system. So really you can see that you need to think about a lot of different levels, sectors, and disciplines. So I often draw mind maps. I use tools like Miro when I think about, well, now I'm thinking about the food system. So I always make mind maps where I can make links between all the different things, because everything is interconnected. And understanding this interconnectedness is really, really important to find a better solution or to think better. So now another way of thinking that I think is really important in sustainable development is perspective taking. So the ability to actually be able to take perspective and to be open-minded and to learn from others. This is not something I learned at school, but I guess it's my own reflection, because, well, I realized that, as you can see on this drawing I made, sorry, it looks terrible as well, but maybe you understand my message. I just realized my own worldview, like my worldview is really coming from Europe. I've been educated with European institutions. So my worldview was really only based on North Europe. And that's where I got my sustainable development education from. But I realized it's really, really, really important to be aware of this worldview and to actually be able to find like what are other people's worldview. So how do other people think about the same problems and try to integrate their perspectives in the solution. So be open to other to the African perspective, to the Asian perspective, Latin America. And also it's not only about different continents, it's also be open to people that have a different socioeconomic background than you, be open to people that have different political ideas and or different ages even. Sometimes children can give you really, really interesting ideas, or old people can share really nice experiences or traditional knowledge. So really what I want to say with this is that you can learn from literally everyone in society to frame a better solution. You can learn also from just people that you think are not educated. You can learn way more by talking to a homeless. You can learn a great deal by talking to a garbage man and understand where the waste is going, to frame just a better, more complete solution. Because I really believe that solutions that fail just were too exclusive. So we need to include a very diverse range of people to frame sustainable development in a good and more democratic and more inclusive way. So that's very important to me. So I'm going to skip this. I made another mind map, but it's just further reflection. So one of the last things, another way of thinking, critical thinking, and the importance of asking good questions. This is also really important in sustainable development, to understand that we don't know everything. You don't know anything. Maybe a lot of beliefs that you have might be correct, but you also might have a lot of incorrect beliefs. And it's very important to always stay critical about your own beliefs or about what is being told. And it's just good to ask questions and to ask critical questions, because only that way we can actually identify the gaps in our system. So for instance, when I was in economic class, I was asking, okay, but why do we need this? And then the teacher would answer, because of economic growth, because we need economic growth. And then I would ask, but why do we need economic growth if it is bad for some people and for the planet? And he didn't know how to answer, and he was just like, okay, it's just the theory, it's just the model. So then you realize that there are some limits in our system, and asking questions and being critical is actually really important to give space to something new and to a broken system sometimes that is just going nowhere. So this gives actually space to creative thinking. So once you identify the gaps, well, we need something new. So we need to all together design something new. We need young people, young entrepreneurs to innovate. So therefore you need to be creative and invent a greener future. So yeah, there's a lot of skills or ways of thinking that can contribute to sustainable development. And one last thing that is nice is, as a sustainable scientist, we often use like frameworks or models to guide the system transformations that we need. And this is one example. It's called the Three Horizon Framework. And I really like it because, yeah, you can see on the green line that, first of all, in the present, what do we have as small-scale solutions? Who are the really small solutions that are currently implemented? So if we take, for example, in the food system, where are all the entrepreneurs that already do something. So maybe it's a community garden, maybe it's a very small local coffee shop in Bogor that sells sustainable coffee. It can be anything, but all these actors that already try to contribute to sustainability, which is a minority currently. And then you look at the more dominant system, and then you see, okay, what should go? How can this dominant system be replaced by more sustainable solutions? How can they become dominant, and what are the barriers to change? How can, like, what will the conflicts be? So we really need to ask a lot of questions to guide the system transformation. Okay, so enough about these ways of thinking. Something else. I want to talk about why we should bother, actually. Why should we care about sustainability in the first place? When I was 18, I was asking myself this question, like, why should we bother if we will die one day anyways? If the human apocalypse will arrive anyways, why should we not just now enjoy life and see what happens? Like, why should we worry about things that we can't control? And if we are like, so if my impact is so insignificant anyways, why should I do even something? So yeah, I think quite a lot of people think like this. So it's nice to discuss this and see how we can feel our own power in the system. So actually, there are plenty of reasons why you can care about sustainability, and you really can find your own motivation. And I see it like this. I think sometimes you just really need to feel the emotion. So you can think about which situation in the world makes you really angry or really sad. What do you find completely absurd? What do you think makes no sense? And you just really think we should change it. Or maybe in a more positive way, you should say, maybe think about what you really find beautiful in this world, what is really important for you, what do you love? Maybe you really love nature, or you really care about people, or what do you really want to fight for? So personally, for me, I am into sustainability because of environmental justice. I really, really care about people, and I feel a great responsibility as a European when we consume so much things that are produced far away, and that we have very unfair relations with the rest of the world. We often, well, already with our colonial past, but still nowadays, I believe we are still exploiting other countries to produce things at a very cheap price. As Elsa already mentioned in her presentation before, we export huge amounts of waste to other countries, to often poorer countries, so that they can just deal with our waste for us because of money. So I'm getting really, I feel this is really unfair. And yeah, I want to take responsibility for this. And yeah, that is my motivation. But some other people in my study are more caring for nature. Like, they get really sad when they see that animals are disappearing, that forests are disappearing. Some people also just care about their own future, about the impact of climate change, and for their children, they care for their own children. So that can also be a really big motivation. So yeah, in general, I think it's important to look at the world and find your pain points. And I think it's sometimes easier to see that in images or in videos rather than reading it in words. So that's why I really love to include pictures sometimes that can trigger ideas. So almost the end of the presentation, I want to say that I still have so many questions unanswered in this, and I'm just wondering how we can go together on a pathway towards sustainability, how we can go from being really pessimistic and feeling powerless to being just more optimistic and more proactive in contributing to a solution. And I'm thinking about this on my website. It's called The Green Collective, and it's actually a collective so people can think together. And the main idea of this website is this. I think that first, like, to go towards sustainability, first of all, you are unaware. So you don't know about climate change, or you just heard about it, but you don't know what it is. Let's just take climate change as an example. And then you become intellectual aware. So you get knowledge about it, education, you start to understand climate change intellectually. But then actually it doesn't mean that you really feel the urge of the problem. It doesn't mean that emotionally you understand climate change, that you will really act on it, because you don't feel climate change. You don't feel the urgency of it. So I think it's important to trigger this emotional awareness through maybe art or through education that is more sensible, so that people become emotionally also engaged in the problem and have more motivation to start doing something. And it might create negative feelings of feeling guilty or feeling completely not like you don't have power and you have no impact on the system. But maybe eventually at the end of the pathway, that's how I see it, we can actually find what we can do and actually act in a proactive way. So that's my last question. Like, how do you think you can contribute? How can we take action? I really believe that everyone can do something in their own way. A lot of different things, depends on your talents. Just use your talents, use your local context, use your studies, use the sector in which you're working. You can act individually, you can act at the level of your household, of your village. Yeah, I believe that we can do a lot of things, and there's a lot of space for creativity. So it's going to be very exciting, and I hope that my generation, all the people that are in their 20s now, actually will have this motivation to reinvent the world of tomorrow. So yeah, thanks a lot for listening. And if you have any questions or you want to share your own thoughts or ideas, that would be really nice. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Julie. Very, very interesting, and I think some thought provocating, yeah, that you posed to us, especially I think in the last, as a conclusion, you challenge us. How can you contribute, and how can we take action? So start from the individual, and then collective action. Very important in this. You address a very important topic, yeah, about sustainability. Everybody, I think, nowadays talking about sustainability, even with a different perspective and understanding, but all basically agree the importance of sustainability. And you talk about how to achieve this sustainability. Start from very abstract, like using system thinking, perspective taking, and then critical thinking, creative thinking, and also in terms of science, it is transdisciplinary, yeah, to tackle what we call it the wicked problems, yeah, like climate change and so on. So very interesting and need to work together. So ladies and gentlemen, this is time for us to have some questions, some comment on both of the presentation. And I have already seen in the chat, there are some questions for Elsa, because Elsa first present the material. So there are some already questions. So I think Elsa may respond to the question in the chat. Have you some time to read the the questions?
Yeah, I mean, I received some like private question as well, so I can answer. I can just read and answer.
Sure.
But like,
so please.
I don't have perfect knowledge, right? So what I will answer is kind of also my personal beliefs.
Sure.
Which is better, reducing the production or reducing the use of plastic, or both? Reducing the production of plastic and reducing the use of plastic goes kind of together, I guess. But what is important is to actually like reduce and not use unnecessary plastic, but also to recycle it in a better way, you know, for the plastic not to end up in the ocean. Then I have another question. Any information on the ways all the countries controlling the use of plastic in daily lives? Well, I can describe a bit like the European way of dealing with plastic. So basically, like in France, for example, in our home, like the government gives us two different garbage, so a blue and a yellow garbage. The yellow is to put the plastic, and the blue is like the rest, like plastic and carton, sorry, and the blue is the rest. And every week there is like someone coming pick it up. So on Thursday it's the blue garbage, and we just put it outside. And on Tuesday, or like another day of the week, it's like all the garbage, and then they collect it and they bring it directly to the center of recycling, like recycling sectors, and it's processed over there. So there is like not this thing of like the separation of the waste is already done at home. I have a direct question from Mega, who's asking, from my perspective, who and how do you think could help us the most to tackle this plastic-related management issue? Well, I don't think there is like one, as I said, like in my presentation, I don't think there is like one actor that can actually have like this genius idea and like to solve the whole problem. I think it comes first, like it comes from individual, like our way, like our perspective view on this, and also like from the government through the regulation, and mostly from the private sector to actually like implement this circular economy and implement this way of like recycling. And I think it's really important also to indicate what is the benefit for the population to do it, because obviously like when you're already struggling with like eating or whatever, you don't think about like, oh yeah, I need to recycle my plastic. So I know that there is like some organization. I was talking to Bunevi, and she was actually telling me that for her, like there's actually people that can come to her home and grab the plastic and give money in exchange to that. And I think that if we actually like make it aware, like spread this kind of like news, people will actually like see the benefit, because they will be like, oh well, but I actually can get money out of it. So like, yeah, I think like we need to really spread an awareness and keep talking about it always and again, because like it's awareness is not only like once you say it and then it's fine. You need to like brainwash kind of. Then I have a question. Does the fuel produced from plastic give influence to the environment? Well, fuel is not good either way from the environment. So that is, when it's produced from plastic or not is not a good thing. And so, yeah, its influence on the environment is not good. And the one produced from plastic is actually, like, I actually asked the question to the people in Get Plastic, and they told me that it's not the best, but it's not the worst, and they're trying to implement like new machine to actually make it more bio. So yeah.
Oh, okay, Elsa, can you just stop there, and then for the rest question you will answer later on, so we can have a TikTok style.
Yeah.
TikTok style.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah. So keep in mind for the other questions, and now we can I would like to give the time for Julie to answer some of the question that is posted in the chat. Have you read some of the questions, Julie?
Yes.
Okay, so you can respond to the questions, please.
I think the first one is by Undine. So maybe do people want to talk or state their question directly, or shall we just do it like this?
Well, okay. If anybody who post the question in the chat, if you would like to speak directly, I give you the chance. Actually, you can raise your hand. Anyone? Okay, in the meantime, just respond to one or two questions, please.
I will. So, Julie, do you agree with the proposition that sustainability is directly related to the level of education? So this is a tough question, of course, but I do believe that sustainability requires a certain level of education. Maybe it depends on what you are contributing in sustainability, right? Like, again, sustainability is super large and you can act on it in very different ways. And I think maybe the traditional way of teaching is maybe not really contributing to sustainable thinking. Like, as I just said today, like maybe we need more courses in universities or in high school that teach us how to think critically about the system. Like, do we ever get courses about that, about criticizing the gaps of the system? No. Do we really teach children to think creatively? There are courses also about perspective taking. It's not really often or very common that people give that, but of course the goal of every school, and I believe that they're doing a really good job still, is to give the students independent thinking, and that they are at the end of university able to think more critically, for sure. So I think it does affect sustainability for sure. However, there are old people or maybe traditional people that live remote in villages and didn't access education, but are way more sustainable than we are. Right?
Like traditional community, right?
Yes, and that's why I want to insist on the fact that we need to, the people that we see as educated in the more narrow sense are important, but we need to be open to people that we don't see as educated can also teach us a lot. So yeah. Shall I do another question?
Yeah, there is. Is there any strategy from Muhaimin? You want to read or I read for you?
I think this one is for Elsa.
Oh, yeah. But there is also sustainability of the environmental sustainability. Maybe you can address. Okay, otherwise you just go to the Ibu Dami. Ibu Dami, yeah.
Yeah. So she thinks it's very important. Do you think the formal education has done enough to help society understand the concept of perspective taking? How can we help increase this understanding? So yeah, the former education, well, my former education, I don't think so. But I think I had still great teachers that actually brought the topic of perspective taking. There is actually, you can teach that, like you can actually give lectures about perspective taking and what is your worldview, and try to think about where are the limits of your own worldview and see how you can open up to other people and have more empathy. It's skills that you can teach. So that's great. I had one lecture about it, so I think that was great. But aside that, clearly my bachelor was called Global Sustainability Science, and most of my teachers were Dutch maybe I had like one Chinese teacher, that's it. Like most of my teachers were Dutch. I learned about Dutch study cases or European study cases, and they call themselves global sustainability science. So already there, I believe like we are not integrating different perspectives in our education. So I think we can increase it massively in universities. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Julie. So now, before we continue to another participants, I give time for Elsa to continue to respond. I think still some questions for you. Plastic is very,
Yeah.
very important to solve.
I don't remember where I stopped.
I don't remember as well.
I think it was how are you sure that Indonesia will be free of plastic in 2040? I think I stopped there.
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't say that this will happen. And to be honest, my own point of view is that it won't happen, because it will be really, really hard to just get rid of all of the plastic in all of the different islands and everything. So I don't think it would happen. But I think it's important to set like really high goals to reach as much as they can. So even if like the goal is too high and won't be fulfilled, it will be like a lot of more action will be taken, I think. Is there a strategy and integrated models to solve plastic impact, environment, sustainability? I have to admit that I don't know. Like, I don't think there's like one strategy to actually like solve the plastic impact, because the problem is like mostly how people are reacting and how they're just like throwing in landfill the plastic and everywhere, you know. Like, you can go in Boger, there are like places where just like across the bridge, if you look, there's like hundreds of plastic bags, right? Full of like waste. Is there a simple and easy way to reduce the entry of plastic waste into the marine ecosystem? Well, actually, I know that in Bali, especially, they're like putting, because like, how does it go to the ocean? It's through rivers, right? It's not like people that are just like going to the ocean and throwing the plastic. It's like the river that are that are ended up in the ocean that bring the plastic. So I know that there are some ways of like putting some barrier kind of like at the river, so like the water can go, but it like stop the plastic moving, and then they're collecting the bottles and plastic. I think it's from I'm gonna misspell the name, but Sangha Watch. I think like that's one of the organizers of this project. So this helped like stopping the entry in the ocean, but it doesn't stop the problem. From Budami, do you have any data so far on the plastic waste situation in the world? Which country is worse, and what is the best in overcoming plastic waste? Well, good news. I know that Indonesia is not the worst, not the best, far from being the best.
Are you sure?
No. Yeah. No, actually, I think it was like, there are a few countries in Latin America. I think it was Chile and Mexico that are really not good, because they're like, and also Turkey, like those countries, it's like between 1% and 5% of plastic that is actually recycled. Like most of them are just like burned in the landfills and all thrown, like not taken care of. Hi Elsa, what can't we do to resolve the plastic fuel that can't be converted into fuel? Well, when I present like the project of like transforming into fuel, I'm not saying that it's the best way, because like it's actually also bring like all the problems. I'm just like exposing one way of doing it, and the rest is like, well, the one that cannot be like we can all reuse from at home the plastic, right? We can just like use another like the plastic bag that we get from like the warung, we can also like then take it again to another place. And so there is like, yeah, there is like plastic that we will like, there is no possible to actually recycle it. And I guess like, of course, it's like it will be burned somehow, but the most important is that to recycle as much as we can and to not choose the one that we actually don't need.
From Pak Bob.
Yeah, I have experience in supervising PET recycles and for Dana in Bali. It's very indicated that the recycle is not the only matter that needs to be cared of, but also of the responsibility from the explicit of child labor. Yeah, like of course there are like a lot of different problems, but I'm just exposing the one of plastic. Like of course there are like a lot of different problem within the. Wait, there is indication that the recycle is not the only matter that needs to be cared of, but also.
So the company is also very important, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Danone is like an important company because, like, they're, for example, owner of Aqua, which is like one of the biggest brands of water. But I don't really understand the question. I feel like it's more like a, it's not, I don't think it's a question, if I understood correctly.
Yeah, yeah. So it is just emphasize the importance of the company also has responsibility in creating the in reducing the use of plastic. Yeah.
Yeah. And last
then
question
from Harindra.
Yeah. So the Bulgar city administration has banned plastics on commercial venue, example shopping malls, by imposing 25 million rupee fine, which ensure the regulation is implemented throughout all shopping malls. How can we reach the informal sector, such as wearing or traditional markets, to comply with the regulation of plastic ban? What kind of approach is needed to ensure such regulation by being while maintaining humanist aspect? Well, I think this is a question that we can all think about. Like, I don't think like me, who's 21 years old, like can actually bring one magic solution, right? Like if the government doesn't even know how to do so, it's a bit hard for me also to say. But what I can say is that it's also because the people won't ask for plastic anymore, then the sellers won't use it, right? Because if they don't have any like no one actually asks for it and they're like, oh no, I'm gonna use this, oh no, I prefer using this, then they won't see the benefit anymore of like using it, so they can reduce. But I think like this is kind of like the main problem, right, of Indonesia, is that it's easy to regulate like the shopping malls or everything, but it's a bit harder to regulate like people just selling food in the streets.
Maybe the consumer important, yeah, consumer education.
I think this is like, yeah, I think this is like one point that really like where the government really could have action on it to aware the customers of what to do or not.
Okay, thank you very much. So basically, both of you have already addressed all of the questions, basically. But okay, if anybody still wants to ask a question directly, I think you can raise your hand and open your mic, please. Anyone? You can raise your hand. So it seems, Pak Eka, do you have any comment? I think Pak Eka, I want to hear your comment, Pak Eka.
What is my comment? I think Julie and Elsa presentation is a complementary presentation. Yeah. So
Yeah.
one supports the other. Plastic is not so easy. The problem of plastic is not so easy to resolve. One of the factor is already mentioned by Elsa, because it is very cheap. Yeah. Because we made it very cheap.
And
We
handy
means
too.
the people. Yeah.
And also the thing is that we could change it and, like, for example, use cassava bag instead, but then we also bring another problem, that the cassava, like, we need to cut, and like then it creates also, like, or paper, like, create deforestation, you know. It's like, that's kind of like the hard part, is that, okay, we can find a solution, but the solution will actually create another problem.
Yeah. So that's why in just some thinking by Julie, I think the solution is the focus will be in the scale of economic is the price, how to get comparable substitution with the plus minus the price, but it must start from everybody. If we can make plastic cheap, we can make the other substitution cheap also. We must believe in that. But if we don't believe in that, then nothing will happen. So everybody just stay put in their own mindset or paradigm and says, no, we cannot do this. No, we cannot do that. Especially, I like the terms of from Julia. I don't know. This is just a joke, actually. I don't know what you categorize myself, but I think I'm at the old people, old people level. But I believe I still can think. I think I still can contribute something, and that something is that we must believe we can make a cheaper solution, or at least at par with the plastic together, not alone, together. But how to do it? Yeah, let's start. It is a journey, so let's start to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's all, Pak Rilus.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yes, a challenge for each one of us. As mentioned by Julie at the end of the presentation, everyone actually contribute to these global issues. Yeah, no one is unimportant in this case. Actually, Julie, can I have one question? What do you think is the most well, I said the root cause of the unsustainable behavior of most of people in this planet?
The root cause, oh, is my internet working?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's working.
Yeah, okay, the root cause, very difficult. I would say a large majority of people just don't have the choice to care for the environment, right? So I think it's really caring for sustainability. Some actually can be seen as a privilege. I'm not sure if you can hear me because things are not moving on my screen anymore.
Oh, I can hear.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, I think that the root cause maybe of the vast majority of people is because they have to care about money. People need an income, you know, like some people are not gonna take care about, oh, am I gonna use plastic or not, or eat meat or not tonight? Like they're just gonna go for the cheapest option because at the end of the day, they just need to give food to their children when they come home, right? So it's really like, I think the root cause is we don't give maybe enough space for people to actually change. So I believe maybe the change in the end doesn't come on the responsibility of individuals, but it is actually a responsibility of maybe larger actors, larger corporations and governments to really design a system that gives more space for sustainable development. That, like, again, everybody should contribute, but why a lot don't is, well, a lot of people also don't care, like, clearly, but I also tend to be optimistic enough to think that everyone wants to be good, everyone wants to do something good around them, but sometimes you just don't have the education or the choice or the time. So yeah.
Okay, thank you very
Rilus,
much.
can I add
Pak
something?
Eka?
Can I add something to your question and Julie's explanation? Yeah. I would like to quote from the book of Limits to Growth that I have started this project since 1972. And still we are not inching forward to the sustainability according to this book. And in this book, they mentioned that the main problem is that people still believe that our resource, natural resource, is infinite. But it is finite. It will end soon if we don't take care.
Right.
We don't do circular economy or other things. And sorry, a little bit critic, but not critic personally, to the UN definition of sustainability. They say development of a better solution. But quoting to that book of Limits to Growth, I think it is development of restraint. Everybody must start to restrain themselves to use the natural resources. Because if you hear the word development, then you will think automatically that there will be a better system how to use this finite resources. And actually there is no better system. You use it, it will be finished unless you replenish it. That's the simple thing. But we are, how to say, with this modern technology, it seems we are so far away with our natural resources. We did not see it in front of our eyes that it is diminishing or reducing. So we kept on going with our same attitude, same our paradigm, same behavior. So I think, from my side that.
Okay, Julie first, give respond, and then Elsa.
Yeah, to also react on that and give another answer to your first question. Like, I really think that human psychology, like human brains, we're just not made for long-term thinking. Like, I think that we're just really bad at it, including myself. Like, even if I have the education or the privilege to just do something or have the time to do something, like, even then I don't really feel like the urgency, like it's climate change we see it as not something that is affecting us now in the present, so then we're not caring for it. And the same for like this resource story. As long as we have water, as long as we have resources, everyone feels okay. And the day where there is not anymore, then it's going to be panic. But now no one wants to care for it because people are just fine maybe in the present. And so a lot of people say that we actually need a disaster for us to change. That's a very pessimistic view, but I hope not. But yeah, so people are just, human psychology is just about, we are short-term thinkers, we are big procrastinators, including myself. Like, I mean, if I smoke now, I know that it might cause me cancer, but still I will continue because I don't care about long-term impact on my health. So it's like, yeah, it's also human psychology. We're not made for these type of problems.
Okay, Elsa.
Yeah, I just wanted to react to Pak Eka, because when you said like restriction, I don't think that actually sustainability means like restricting ourselves, because I just think that we should change the way we're acting and the way we are being, but it doesn't mean that it's restricting something, right? It's just a new way of using things or like consuming. But for me, restriction is really like a negative thing. And I don't think that it's actually the case. I think we just need to learn how to use it in another way and like, but not being restrictive. You know what I mean?
Okay. Very interesting discussion. Okay, we almost come to the end, but if anybody still wants to comment, Bu Dami, do you want to comment directly or someone else, somebody else? Please raise your hand. Okay, Zabika, please, Zabika.
Thank you, Pak Rilus. Everyone can hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Okay. First, I actually want to answer the question before about what's the root problem of this unsustainability living. And from my perspective, one of the root problem is actually consumerism, where people tend to buy things that they actually don't need and just to flex. Yeah, and talk about sustainability living, it is actually kind of complicated problem when it comes to sustainability in developed country. I believe our society here are starting to getting aware about how important sustainable living is. But on the other side, the easiest and reasonable product to sell and the easiest access are packed in plastics. So, and stuff that packed in sustainable packaging is often being sold on expensive price. So it's actually kind of jadi masalah Pak gitu lah.
Okay.
Terus I'm going to mention about me being a student here. Oh ya, before sebelum itu saya sebenarnya dari Departemen Teknologi Kelautan di IPB, Pak.
Okay.
And talk about marine debris is actually become our important problem to face in the ocean aspect, actually, beside overexploitation and climate change. And consumerism itself become added to the problem, so the problem is become more complicated. And no wonder our world is going to collapse soon. And from my experience self, Pak Rilus, di sini kan ada Gojek kayak layanan GoFood. Let's say Uber Eats maybe in Europe or in US, and me myself is often buy food from Gojek, GoFood, and it is often packed in. Let's say if I buy seblak, seblaknya itu wrapped in plastic first, then they tied it, and then they put it in styrofoam, and then they put it in plastic again. So if I want to buy one food, it is actually brought to me with so many plastics. So in my boarding home, I actually kind of a plastic hoarder. So from the food, ya. Jadi itu sih sebenarnya Pak, semuanya hal yang menjadi meresahkan sebagai individual. Ya.
Okay. Okay. So thank you very much, Zabika. Very interesting, yeah. Do you want to respond, Elsa or Julie, just briefly?
No, I think she has like a really, like she's connecting everything, and I really like her analysis. I think it's great, and it's like the right thing.
Yeah, the consumerism, but also the kind of the packaging also all contribute to this plastic use. Maybe one or two, if anybody wants still to comment directly. Bu Dami, apakah mau komen juga directly? last comment maybe?
Enggak dulu Pak, udah
Okay.
bagus.
Okay. So if
Rilus, one comment.
yeah, okay,
One comment.
please, Pak Eka, last.
So, okay. Recently, I went to Jogja and sleep at a hotel, and there's a very beautiful, how to say, wording or quote. It mentions dream as far as the sky, but when you wake up not in your bed, means you fall down. But when you wake up and you fall down from your bed, it means that you are not sleeping at the middle. So it means everything actually is, you must take it at the middle, not extreme one side on extreme other side. We can have a big dream, a very, very big dream, far dream, but we must always stay at the middle. This is a typical Javanese wisdom quote. I think that's all.
Thank you very much. Okay, before we close, I just give chance for Elsa and Julie to give your closing statement. Elsa first and then Julie.
I just wanted to thank you all for participating, and I think we should always keep in mind, like when we are buying things or whatever, like, do I really need this plastic around me? Like, is it necessary to consume it? So yeah, but like really thank you, and thank you for how input, thank you for all of the questions. It was like a really nice session.
Thank you, Elsa. And Julie, please.
Yeah, thanks to you all. And yeah, as Pak Eka says, always stay in the middle, stay critical, stay creative, stay positive. Yeah, I can finish with a citation. Maybe I prefer to be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Budami, you wanna have a closing statement as well because you open your mic.
Yeah, I agree that we have to stay positive. We have to be positive. Even though maybe things looks very difficult and very dark, but we always have to have hope, because that's what human beings are. We have to have hope, because if we don't have hope, then we don't live, right? And to be able to stay alive, we always have to have hope. So believe in humanity, and yes, we will be able to overcome and reach sustainability for all.
Very interesting, very nice. Thank you, Budami. I won't make a conclusion, of course, because I think each one of us taking already some important points from the presentation as well as the discussion. Very interesting. I just want to mention the important for all of us to to practice sustainability way of life. Yeah, each one of us. Let's make sustainable as our lifestyle in every day, yeah, including how to deal with the plastic. This is one of the things that cause unsustainable planet as well as economy, as mentioned by Elsa. So I think it is very important each one of us aware that each one of us all play important contribution to reach the sustainability, including in dealing with plastic and so on and so forth. So by that statement, I would like to close this webinar this afternoon. Very interesting. Once again, thank you very much for the presenter, Elsa and Julie, and thank you for each one of the participants in this seminar. And thank you for all the questions and comments. I hope this contribute to us in achieving sustainability. I'm sorry if anything that I have done is not correct or something like that. As a moderator, of course, I have kelemahan, kata orang tidak ada gading yang tak retak. So I apologize for any inconvenience from my part. Once again, thank you very much, and by this selamat sore, terima kasih banyak. Semoga semuanya sehat. Terima kasih. Sampai jumpa di lain waktu. Thank you very much.
Terima kasih.